Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome, everybody, into the Hump Day Hotline on the Buffalo Rumblings Vidcast Network. My name is Joe Miller, and I am one of the hosts of this here show, the Hump Day Hotline. And sitting right next to me on, I guess is what I don't know what it is. This over here, my left, is that right?
Yep, it's your left.
My left.
You did it right.
Is my co-host and very good friend, best friend, I would say, Jay Spencer King. Jay Spence.
What's up, man?
I'm good. It's actually hot in Buffalo. Like it's not crazy hot though. Like we haven't had a day yet really outside of a day early in the spring kind of summer where it was over 85, but like it's under 85, but you guys have been getting toasted.
Yeah. We've been getting hammered. I don't even know how. I know it's over 100. I don't know.
I heard a record
like
over 115, a record 17 days over 115.
Yeah, it's been like that, like just consecutively. And I feel like I think it got up to 118. I don't know what it's at today. Alexa, what's the temperature?
Right now, it's 115 degrees.
It's 115 right now.
And my man's wearing a hoodie.
Can't. It is what it is, man. It's who I am. A hoodie and fitted all day. Hoodie and snapback.
That's hysterical. Well, welcome into the program, everybody. It is so good to have you. This is episode kind of 2 of the official 2023 NFL Buffalo Bills football season. We got several people climbing into the chat. We appreciate you guys. It's good to see all of you. We're going to talk some Buffalo Bills. We're going to talk around the league. We're going to talk a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Tracy Fichter says it feels like 109 in South Florida. And if I'm not mistaken, Tracy was showing video of I think it was she was getting some flooding down there, and it was like rolling into her house or something like that, like last week. So yeah, the weather is just all kinds of crazy. Yeah, but it's a dry heat.
but that's the thing about Florida, and I like Florida. Florida's beautiful. I love the beaches. You know, it's like you got to love the beaches, right? But then it's like the humidity is just it's insane.
Kills you. It's a ton of bricks.
And then the hurricanes, you get the hurricane. Like last year, we were down there for the Dolphins game.
Yeah.
And one part of, like on one half of the state was okay, and the other half was like trying to figure out. I don't know. It was too much. It's too much.
It's just too much. Well, the weather in Buffalo has been beautiful. It's going to be beautiful for like the next 10 days, like the outlook. I'm at a lake, as you can see behind me, just like I was last week. And it has rained for about 5 minutes in the last week and a half. And it doesn't look like there's any rain coming really anytime soon, which is good for us, bad for Northern Canada, which we can talk about that if you want to talk about. You said, hey, we don't always have to talk football. Do we want to talk about Canada for a minute? Like I've got a tweet.
Canada.
I got a tweet crafted. Okay, you ready? That I have not hit send on yet. 4 billionaires go down in the ocean in a man-made sub to see the Titanic. And for 4 days, there is urgency. Coast Guard, other national governments, everybody looking for these 4 billionaires in a man-made sub that went down to see the Titanic that they lost communication with. Meanwhile, the U.S. Navy knew 3 hours after they descended that the sub imploded and they were dead. But we still had urgency. Like there's crazy stuff going on trying to find these guys, but they knew they were dead. We have urgency over emissions like fossil fuels. We've got urgency over removing gas stoves, urgency over removing gas furnaces, urgency over deforestation, urgency over cow farts. Like people want cows reduced because they fart so much. Meanwhile, 24 million acres of forest have burned in Canada, and there's no urgency and there's no end in sight. Literally, there's people out there saying it's going to end when winter comes. And I'm just like, I'm confused because it's coming down here. Like every time it came down this week, and every time the smoke comes down, it's down here for a day or two. Like my lungs, I feel like garbage for like 2 days straight afterwards. Last time I got a cold, like I ended up with like a respiratory infection afterwards. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, I get it. We get that every year out here from California. They get a ton of fires, and we end up with that. And, I had a bad case of bronchitis for a second there, and it was bad. So I mean, no, it's the same thing. You get the bad air quality, and that's it. Yeah, that's it.
But go ahead.
Well, no, I'm sorry. I just have to, because I have no idea why there's urgency about cow farts. I just didn't know
methane gas. So the argument is that Americans and humans across the globe eat so much beef that we need to have so many cows that they fart so much that the methane gas is bad for the environment. But burning 24 million acres of forest. That's all right. just I'm just confused, dude. Like I'm just like so you've got one too. You want to talk about a topic. So let's roll with yours next before we talk
No,
Bills.
you know what? It's so funny to me. I've been like glued to like all of these topics that are trending lately on Twitter. But the one that I just like couldn't put my I just couldn't take my eyes off this Carly Russell situation where
Yep, heard of it. Yep.
if so for those who aren't familiar with it, this young lady apparently after work she stopped to get some snacks and then she's on the highway and she's driving and she notices a toddler, a young boy toddler in a diaper running on the highway at night. And she gets out to help this toddler after calling 911 and she called her family. And then, boom, she vanishes. She
Gone.
disappears. The baby's gone. She's gone. Her
Her
car's
phone is
there.
there. Her phone's
Her
there.
phone is there.
I think
Yep,
the
her
car was
Apple
on,
Watch.
right? The car was
The car
on.
was on.
Yep.
Her Apple Watch was still there. So like all of the stuff that could kind of track her was in her car, and she was gone. Then 48 hours later, she just walks down the street, ends up at home. Ends up at home.
Back.
And
So you have to wonder, like when stuff like that happens, like they're thinking in their head, I think I just want to vanish, right? There's a country song where if I'm not mistaken, the Margaritaville guy, Jimmy Buffett, says, bought a boat and I sailed off in it, wrote a note, said I'd be back in a minute. I'm gonna sail off and like I don't think anybody's gonna miss. I'm gonna sail away, nobody's gonna miss me anyway, right? So it's something, and I butchered the lyric, but something like that. And I've thought about that before. It's like, you know what? Maybe I will buy a boat and just sail away. And like, who's gonna miss me anyway? So I wonder if people do that. They're like, they scheme this thing, and then they get 2 days into it, and they're like, oh shit.
well,
wouldn't you test it first? Wouldn't you find some way to test it and be gone for 2 days?
But the idiot, I mean, like how many like it's 2023, so it's like literally, do we not understand that everything is tracked? So then they released like her search records for days prior, and it was stuff like gone missing, and like what happens when you go? It's like you like how smart are we? You know, and
we're not.
Like, come on. And then it comes out, and so some of the stuff I don't know exactly what's true or not. So I'm just laughing at this point. I'm not reporting anything, but apparently, like she was like trying to go away with her 17-year-old boyfriend. And I don't know how old she was, but apparently I feel like she's older than 17.
Than 17.
So I think that's why it was a thing. So I don't know. It was just it's the most. I don't know. It's the most wild story that I've heard this year, and for it to be a complete lie, like she shows up at home and now all of a sudden she doesn't want to talk because she's physically and emotionally exhausted and out of like I don't third down. Third down.
So you can hear the train.
Let's go defense.
Let's go Bills.
Go.
You talk about how smart are we? You're talking about people that dump paint, like pour paint all over a yacht of the heiress of Walmart. Did you see this? The heiress of Walmart, and like hold up a sign about all this waste and like all this damage she's doing to the earth with her yacht. Meanwhile, the chemicals that they're going to use to clean the paint off, that's going to end up in the ocean, right? And the paint's going to end up in the ocean. You asked the question, how smart are we?
How smart?
We're not. We're just not. I mean, there's 24 million acres of forest burning in Canada instead of all of the governments around the globe going, what can we do to help? They're getting their marshmallows out. Hey, we got a free bonfire till Christmas. Let's go.
We just amaze me every year, like more and more. You know, it's like it's new stuff that I feel like you couldn't even script in movies. We just do stuff. And it's like okay,
that's a great place to start. Throw that up there. Yeah, that's a great place. So let's talk some Bills. This is good.
Yeah, let's talk some Bills. So Peyton in the comments. First of all, Peyton's a loyal all time. Every time we're live, Peyton's in here. Go Bills! Haven't you guys heard? We are the third best team in the AFC East.
Yeah. It's been wild to read the tweets, to see the pictures, the screenshots of TV programs, to see the responses. Clearly, Dolphins and Jets fans are all up in their feelings. There's one dude that's a Dolphins fan that has to be to his burner account, because the stuff that he posts is just like, I have bookmarked more of his stuff than anybody else I've ever bookmarked since we've been able to bookmark stuff to come back to it. But like, and it's pretty even. It seems like mostly the Jets are getting picked to win the East. Then the Dolphins are second. The Bills are kind of rounding it out in third. And then obviously nobody's giving the Patriots any hope at all. And we can sit here for a minute and have a conversation around the Dolphins and the Jets and the Bills. But I don't find myself surprised by the national media picking the Dolphins and the Jets over the Bills. Do you find yourself surprised?
No. I mean, we had our moment in their eyes. You know what I mean? So like, regardless if the team got better, stayed the same, or even just slightly worse, because to me they were really good. So even if they were slightly worse, they're
Right.
still a really good team.
Right.
But Buffalo isn't a big market, and this isn't me complaining. This isn't me saying the national media doesn't respect us. None of that. But the thing is, we had our season where we were the Cinderella, or the darling team of the league, where Josh was. He was the new face, and we loved everything about him from every city, and he was the best-selling jersey and all of that stuff. We had our time. Now it goes back to, are the Bills for real? Are the Bills really can Josh Allen get over the hump? I tell you what, I think I like it better here anyway. I enjoyed last season. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed being, like, especially as a content creator, like the cause that I got to be on other people's platforms, like, hey, come on and talk Bills. Okay. Like just opportunities that you wouldn't think you would get. So no, I loved it, but no, let's get back here. Let's get back here to feeling slighted. Third down.
Let's go.
Let's go.
It's third
Let's
down. We're third place in the AFC. It's third down. The Bills got to like mount up, right? Circle them wagons. I can't believe you. Yeah. So I have this new microphone, and Spence was like, man, that thing's quiet. It's like deadening everything. Yeah. And meanwhile, trains are coming too.
I can hear that. I can hear that.
Loud and clear. It doesn't surprise me that the media is picking the Bills to be third. And you can flip-flop whoever you want to flip-flop at first between the Jets and the Dolphins. I listened to Nick Wright's take. I think he's on ESPN, whatever FS1, whatever channel he's on. Yeah, I'm not even sure. And I don't know that I necessarily disagreed with what he said. I mean, his the Bills, the peak would be, he said, reach the Super Bowl, which I think he's putting it in there like win, lose, like, right? Like that, they have the ability to get there for sure. Who knows if they're going to be able to pull it off? They've kind of shown a little bit recently that they've had a hard time in that big game at the end of the season, the last couple of years, especially this past year, which we talked about last week a little bit. But I don't know that the comments that they're saying about the Bills are necessarily wrong. I was talking with somebody this week just about the fact that, like, at some point in time, you've got to get to the point, and it's almost like Andy Reid's old Eagles team didn't do this. Andy Reid's old Eagles teams like always went to the NFC Championship, and lost over and over and over again for like consecutive years. And there was a point where it was like, we got to do something different, right? And then they went and they got T.O. and they go to the Super Bowl. T.O. had a broken leg and they went to the Super Bowl. And I feel like the Bills are kind of in that spot right now. And I almost wonder, and I don't want to say it's reactionary, but that almost points to me or makes me wonder or ponder the Leslie Frazier part. Right? Are we at a point where, because Josh Allen putting 35 points up a game is not the problem. Stephon Diggs catching, 140 passes for 1,500 yards a season is not the problem. Josh Allen running for 700 yards a season is not the problem. That's not the problem. The problem is the defense in big games. And I just got to wonder if there's a mirror moment, right? Sean's looking at himself in the mirror going, something's got to be different. Otherwise, this is going to be our fate. You can't just keep slamming your head against the wall, doing the same exact thing and expect different results. We got to do something different. And I just got to wonder if that's where we're at with this defense. Now, I don't like Tremaine being gone. I don't like the hole. And we're going to talk about the roster here in a second, camp battles and whatnot for a couple minutes. I don't like that hole in the middle of the defense, which, Floyd, we brought a piece in to kind of help. Is that where we're at? Are we at a point where like the Bills are like, we're going to have to do something different? Like we can't keep doing this.
I mean, yeah, but I feel like, and I hear and I agree with you, but I do give the offense some of the blame too. Defense in big games. Obviously, we end up losing the last game of the year, so it's not like the defense always ends up giving up more points. So yeah, I get it. But I mean, you look at this last game that we played, man, 27-10. Josh Allen, 25 of 42 for 246 and one interception.
It was a mess.
No touchdowns. You know what I mean? He had one rushing, but no passing touchdown. It was horrible.
Nobody in that game was prepared, ready to play football.
Yeah,
nobody.
And like Dawson Knox was our leading receiver with 65 yards. I don't even want to know what Stephon Diggs' stats was that game. So,
Chris Jenke's about to tell you.
you know, so I'm saying all of that to say it's like it's both sides, and something has to give. And I think one of the things that I'm looking forward to is what you're talking about on the defensive side, is that now Coach McDermott doesn't have a scapegoat. I've been trying to defend Leslie Frazier almost every year. It's like, no, he's a great coordinator. I get it. We lose the last game, so everybody wants him fired, but we have a great defense, and I'd rather be consistent. So I always try to defend him. Now, look, he's not here to defend. Now it's Sean McDermott. When 13 seconds happens, it's no longer going to be about Leslie Frazier. Now it's about Sean McDermott.
Mm-hmm.
So the question that I have is, what are we doing on defense? What is really happening on defense?
I don't know that I have that answer. We can talk about it here. We can talk about it here in a second. Speaking of changes, on top of Leslie Frazier, the Buffalo Bills made a move today. Today being Wednesday, July 19th. The Buffalo Bills, and it says the Buffalo Bills and Ron Raccuia have decided to part ways. For those of you that are listening that don't know who Ron Raccuia is, Ron Raccuia was named the vice president of operations over the Buffalo Bills and the organization when Kim Pegula, who was I think president of the Buffalo Bills, had her stroke last year. And I'm going to read this from the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills have announced the following changes on the business side of the organization. The Bills and Ron Raccuia, who worked as the team's executive vice president and chief operating officer, have parted ways. We would like to thank Ron for his many years, hard work, and dedication with the Bills and PSE, Pegula Sports and Entertainment. Terry Pegula said, "We wish he and his family the best of luck in future endeavors." Talks about who's going to be moving forward. The owner and CEO, Terry Pegula, will now take over as the role of president of the Bills and work closely with new management, consisting of yada, 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 some folks. And the last one is this one. After taking time over the past several months to evaluate the business side of our operation, we wanted to revamp and improve our structure, said Terry Pegula. We have a tremendous amount of confidence in this management committee, and we have the structure that we've put in place. I have high level of trust, strong working relationships with John, Catherine, and Josh, yada, yada, yada. Over the last couple months. What's interesting about this story to me, as much as there's people on Twitter going, "Oh, nothing to see here." Well, first of all, Peyton, who's in the chat, messaged me immediately and says, agreed to part ways means he was fired.
Yeah.
Yes, he was fired. The last couple months, he's only had the job a couple of months. He also is the guy that has largely been in charge of kind of the stadium push. We are not necessarily able to confirm, deny, report facts on what is actually going on there. The only thing that I can say as it pertains to the Buffalo Bills, the organization, is you and I have heard many times John Fina, Jerry Ostrowski talk candidly about specifically when John Butler left, Marv left, and Tom Donahoe came in and Greg Williams came in. And that was the moment, literally the moment where the culture in Buffalo completely changed, and not for the good, completely sideways, which led to a 17-year drought. And that is the moment as well, if everybody remembers, that Ralph Wilson kind of took his hands off. He's like, I'm just going to give it to to Tom Donahoe, and let Tom Donahoe run the team. Greg is going to do his thing, blah, 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 blah. Culture in the can. Terry Pegula buys the Bills. What's the first thing they do? They try to change the culture. They work to change the culture. And Terry, Kim, Sean, Brandon Beane have done that. Now, I've heard it reported many times from many sources and many players and people that the football culture at Buffalo right now with Sean and Brandon Beane is rock solid. And I know there's been some hitches in the giddy up. There's always going to be the Stephon Diggs thing and stuff like that. I've heard it reported that it's rock solid, because I had concerns when Ron Raccuia was named the president or the vice president of operations and the COO. I was told even back then that he's not going to be over football, that the football thing is a tank and you can't break in. So the football side of the Buffalo Bills, like the team culture and the team structure, is what it is. Like, he has no vision, no view into that. However, I also heard at the same time when he took over that the culture outside of just the football players and the coaching staff and stuff wasn't great. There's been some jettisons. There's been some people that have left the organization. And I think all this does is confirm we've taken a look over the last couple months, right, at how things have been going, and we feel like we needed to make a change. So for me, I think this is better. I think this is a good move for the Bills, and I'm glad that it happened before I'm going to say maybe any real damage was done, because culture, you know me, bro. Like, I'm all about the culture. I'm all about leadership. I'm all about like that relationship and understanding what, how we get along and how, we communicate and receive information and deliver information and love each other and work together. That whole, I'm just trying to be the best person, the best version of myself type stuff. Right. And if you have somebody inside the organization that isn't about that isn't about that mantra, it derails the whole thing. And eventually it will seep in and work its way into the team. So it's an interesting thing to me that happened, especially with the stadium stuff coming, right? Wildly interesting. So I don't know if I think you said that you hadn't really been too much into it, but I don't know if you've got thoughts about what I just said. But
Well, no. So while you were talking, Chris Jenke said that Tim Graham put out some tweets about the topic today. So while you were talking, I went to look to see.
Yeah.
And it goes into a couple of different topics about this. So, I think it's one of those things where I don't know too much about it, so I'm not going to give too much of an opinion. I will say though, these things are more important to football than what we think. So, as fans, if I normally give Bills Mafia credit for being one of the smartest fan bases when it comes to knowing about their team and knowing about, this is something that you want to read up on. Like, this isn't something to ignore as like a small front office change. This is a big
It's a big deal. It's a big deal.
So read the article. If Tim has one, read that. If Sal has one, read that. I'm sure we'll have one at BuffaloRumblings.com. Go ahead and head over and check it out.
So what did Tim say?
Yeah.
What did he say?
Well, he's first there. One of the things that he's talking about is the ownership of AdPro. Apparently that
so Ron Raccuia owned AdPro. So
right.
that's how he stepped his, and I can talk to you a little bit about the history offline of AdPro and how that whole thing happened and went down. But yeah, so for those that don't know, AdPro is the sponsor for the Buffalo Bills practice facility, the AdPro training center, right? The AdPro practice facility. And that's how Ron got his foot in the door with the Buffalo Bills.
And well, he's selling it to the apparel manufacturing company Legends, and apparently that's the firm that handles the Bills' new stadium sales, PSLs, partnerships, and concessions. So that's something that I want to read on before I talk about. So that's a topic. So
a little conflict of interest possible.
Yeah.
Possibly there. You're a smart man when it comes to finances and money, and
yeah, that's why I'm like, that's why you see, normally I jump right on and I'm like, oh no, I want to read this one. So yeah, I'll read this. We'll talk about this one next week, because this is a big deal. It really is.
It's a big deal. This is the guy that was chosen to replace Kim Pagula, right? When she went down. And I think there was a moment where he was kind of put in place permanently. I think they made an announcement that he was going to be the guy kind of going forward, which we all had a very brief moment of sadness, knowing that Kim wasn't possibly going to be returning to the Buffalo Bills. I think this is a good thing for Terry to step in. I think it's a temporary thing. I think it's a matter of time before he finds his guy or girl to potentially take over the football operations, right? Become the president, chief operating officer, yada, yada, all that stuff. I hope, beyond hope, that maybe they keep it in the family, because for me, keeping it in the family means that team, as much as we've got a rock solid stadium deal, if they keep all that stuff continually in the family or close to the family, it just cements more, in my opinion, the Pagula legacy in Buffalo with this football team, right? Versus bringing somebody else in, and Terry, passes at some point. He's not a young man. Kim is clearly not going to be able to take over the team. And then it turns into a situation with his kids, like Ralph's kids. Ralph's kids didn't want the Bills. So Mary was kind of in that position of, well, nobody wants it, so we're going to sell it, right? And I don't think any of us want to be in that position. We want the Bills to be here when our grandkids are watching football, right? So let's take the last couple minutes of the show to talk about camp battles as it pertains to the rookies having just reported. Have you read any articles as far as just the rookies reporting? I know that Dalton Kincaid is supposedly shining, and Torrance, is also supposedly shining. I think that's to be expected, right? When the rookies report. So have you read or heard anything else?
No, and I'll be honest, I haven't looked. It's been I know that the rookies have reported, and I know typically I'm plugged in, but with it being the rookies right now, like you said, it's a typical thing that your first and second rounder is showing out, and everybody else looks, they don't look as good. I'm interested to see when everybody reports. I want to see, I'm ready now. I'm ready for everything. Let's get back into talking about football. Let's talk about some matchups. Let's talk about who's going to make the roster, who's going to be a surprise cut, because there's going to be some battles. And the defensive line is the thing that I'm interested in the most. I know Tremaine's gone, so we want to talk about that linebacker position. But I'm telling you, we brought in guys for the defensive line who are not getting cut. Poona Ford is not getting cut.
Poona Ford is not getting cut. So do you want me to go through it? I've got the roster up in front of me. So left defensive tackle. Are you talking about all across or the interior?
Well, no, I'm just saying all across. But my point was that like Poona Ford's not and Floyd's not. So look, you're gonna have somebody, maybe Boogie Basham is on the outside looking in. Maybe
There's a lot.
Well,
they just re-signed Kingsley Jonathan too, right? So they just there's an aspect that, not that his contract is so big that he's uncuttable.
Right.
So who ESPN has slated right now: Greg Rousseau, Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones, Von Miller. When Von Miller's healthy, I'd say that pretty much sounds about right. Right.
Yep.
Second string, AJ Epinesa. Not so sure.
Maybe not.
Jordan Phillips, Tim Settle, Shaq Lawson. Yes. I think the best thing that AJ Epinesa possibly has going for him is the fact that Von Miller's hurt.
Yes.
Right.
Because that gives him some portion of the season.
So he's going to have to work hard to battle former first round pick. Shaq was a first round pick, right? Shaq Lawson out of Clemson.
Yep.
Rex Ryan. Yep. So it'll be interesting to see that battle. And then third string, Boogie Basham, the kid that is a wonderfully nice young man. Such
great guy.
super great dude. I've had many conversations with him. Big boy, big old kid. When he came out of college, it was reported when he was drafted after Greg Rousseau, high motor guy, right? And I feel like we've seen some of that high motor stuff. I'm not sure the technique is there. He seems to be more of a just go forward guy. And there was a little bit of wiggle to him this year working with Vaughn. Vaughn obviously he wants to be a coach. He wants to be a GM. Like, he wants to leave a legacy on the football field outside of just playing on the football field. And I think we saw some stuff from him. But to your point, Boogie, I love you, but I'm just not sure. And then Poona Ford, they've got Poona Ford as a third string defensive tackle. To your point,
that's wild.
I mean, but it's stacked. Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones, Tim Settle, Jordan Phillips, Poona Ford, Eli Anku, who played well.
So that's what. So when you think about it, it's like, look, every name that you name right now, besides the couple new guys, we fell in love with as Bills fans. We love those guys on the roster.
Right.
Like in our minds, in a way, you really can't think about this team without them this season. But guess what? They signed guys that they're not cutting.
That's exactly right.
They brought guys in that they are not getting rid of. So that's telling you somebody has to go. Somebody got to go. So
yeah.
That's where I'm looking. That's the battle.
You got to think that up front we're going to be pretty solid. And you got to wonder, is there opportunity here to potentially confuse the crap out of some people? Do you go Greg Rousseau, Jordan Phillips, or Poona Ford next to Daquan Jones? And then, somebody like Ed Oliver on the outside in Von Miller's spot, because Ed's got the shake, the shimmy, the speed, and the power to rush from the outside. It's going to be interesting to see how this. Von Miller is starting the season on the pup, right? Physically unable to perform. So he's not going to be on the roster for 4 weeks, 6 weeks. Potentially, I know he's saying he's going to be ready for week 1. I doubt it, right? Expect week 5, week 6, week 7. So it's going to give a spot to somebody to show something. But I'm just not. When I look, are we delusional? Or do we look at this roster and are we like, is this literally 2007 where we're like, we got all these great players, and meanwhile fans of other teams are like, who in the hell is Tim Settle?
Well, I'll tell you what, if fans of other teams are looking at this defensive line saying that, then they're not as knowledgeable. I just said Bills Mafia is one of the most knowledgeable fan bases.
Right. I don't mean
that
would
prove that same. Yeah. No, I know. I'm saying other fan. If they said it, they would prove that point to be right, because Bills Mafia, we know all of these guys because these guys are good. Like, there's a reason why, man. I'm telling you, this defensive line is not going to be for play. It's not going to. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I would say if you want to throw up Chris Jenke's comment, just that I think they keep 9 defensive linemen: Oliver, Jones, Rousseau, Floyd. Well, Floyd isn't a defensive lineman. Ford, he must mean, right? Yes, Ford, he means. Puna Ford. AJ, Boogie, Shaq, Settle. Oh, no, Puna.
Floyd is a DN, isn't he? Or
No,
they signed him as a linebacker.
Leonard Floyd is a linebacker.
I don't know why I feel like they got him as a defensive end.
Yeah, he's even slated as a linebacker, as a will linebacker. So, and that's the other thing too, is what are the Bills going to do? Are they going to go to a nickel 4-2? Are they going to stay in that nickel 4-2, not game plan for teams? Or are they going to move more, be aggressive, try to take something away from teams, right? Try to beat them at their own game? Because to me, that's one of the biggest camp battles there is. The two biggest camp battles for me are linebacker, right? And probably wide receiver. Wide receiver 2 specifically. Are they giving this? I don't want to jump ahead and say, are they giving this to Davis? Let's hit the linebackers real quick because it's a sensitive issue for you. I'm reading, they could have him as edge. If you want to look at the Buffalo Bills roster, I'm looking at ESPN's. They might have him as edge.
Okay.
So if you want to look real quick, and ESPN isn't always completely accurate.
Okay.
But they've got AJ Klein in the middle and Matt Milano, which AJ Klein is a fun story. And you and I were doing this show. We've been doing this show long enough to know the career arc, whatever, of AJ Klein, of which the Bills went and got him, right? Brought him in and played him a handful of games, and the dude was lost in this defense. Do you remember that? And we were like, why is this guy on the football field? And then there was a point where it was almost like the Bills figured out how to use him. Oh, this is what he's good at. And then AJ Klein kind of became a thing. It was like, oh,
that's the player of the week.
Like, let this kid play. Like, let's see more of AJ Klein.
Real quick, on the Bills website, he's listed as a defensive end.
He is. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Well, that's a little bit of a difference there. So that muddies it up even more, if that's the case, right? So he must be from a 3-4 defense similar to Vaughn, right?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah. So he's an outside linebacker in a 3-4 and an edge rusher in a 4-3.
This is crazy.
Yeah. So as much as that muddies up the waters as it pertains to the defensive line, now you've got another body in there. You're taking a body out of the middle line or the linebacker spot. So now you're with AJ Klein, Matt Milano. Matt Milano's playing football. Terrell Bernard, Tyrell Dotson, Tyler Medikevich, who I know he's a special teamer, but Tyler Medikevich can play football in a nickel 4-2. He's proved it. Not on an every down basis. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that Tyler's the guy and he needs to be the starter. And then Dorian Williams, obviously, and Balin Spector. Balin Spector is last on this list. Where's he on the Bills depth chart?
Let's see.
I like Balin Spector.
I do too. You know what? They actually, on the website, it says that it will be announced at a later date. So they don't even have like the basic one that they throw up yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But when you look at just what's going on at linebacker for the Buffalo Bills, I mean, are the starting linebackers AJ Klein and Matt Milano? If we go with the nickel 4-2? Oh, I love the transparency in your size.
It really hurts to see the linebacker room. And I mean this with all respect, because I just said I like everybody we have on the roster, but just because I like them, it doesn't mean that we have starting caliber. Like, you know, we're in a division right now. So say Breece Hall comes back and he's actually healthy, you know, or say they decide, well, you know what, he's not healthy, so we're going to sign Dalvin Cook. Do you remember what Dalvin Cook did to us when Tremaine went out after the first half against the Vikings last year?
Oh yeah.
I was at
that game.
I don't want to see him twice on a team like the Jets, who had a defense that did bother the Buffalo Bills offense, and now they do have a huge upgrade at the quarterback position. Like, not to the point where I'm scared of Aaron Rodgers, but what they had last year, they beat us a game with, and he was horrible.
It's interesting to see. So Chris Jenke says, you know, Spector's probably going to make the roster over Klein. John Roberts says, where's Terrell Bernard? That's a great question. Matt Byam says, no way Klein can call the defense. He's too valuable in that regard until they see more from the youth. So Matt's saying Klein's calling this defense. Jenke's saying Klein is gone. Richard Rush says Dotson and Matt Milano. Jenke back in, say Milano and Bernard, Dotson, Dorian Williams will be the two linebackers. I love this. AK Cash, like a Jenny Light, AJ Klein will get it done. Jerry Strosky loves our rookie linebacker. I'll trust him. Jerry loves our rookie linebacker, but Jerry also loves guys from the Midwest.
I'm gonna say that I'm thinking that we're gonna see something different. Like I think we're probably gonna get like some Saran Neal in that he played a little bit of linebacker in college.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna see a little bit of him. I think they're gonna try to figure it out the same way they try to figure out the safety position last year when Micah went out. I think they're gonna try to figure out. So we're gonna see a lot of different things, but I wouldn't be shocked if Saran Neal ended up being the guy that got most of those snaps next to Matt Milano.
Terrell Bernard,
man, I can't even believe I'm saying that. You hear the disappointment in my voice saying it?
Terrell Bernard is 6'1", 224. Saran Neal is 6 feet 206. What is Taron Johnson? Taron Johnson.
I agree with Chris Jenke here as well. While you're looking at that, he
Taron
says
Johnson's 5'11", 192. He's a little bit smaller.
Yeah, Chris said we could see some 3 safety sets mixing in Taylor Rapp. I believe we see that as well. So I think we see just like a smorgasbord of different things there. But I definitely don't be surprised if Saran Neal gets tossed into the mix.
It'll be interesting for sure. Now let's talk about wide receiver numero dos, which has been talked about a lot. So this isn't like this is some hot topic and we're like coming in hot with something that nobody's ever talked about before. Is Gabe Davis just the guy? I mean, because we're still talking about cut down day, right? There's still gonna be roster cuts. So the Bills might just might hang on until a dude comes out or a guy that's serviceable at linebacker. They might also do the same thing at wide receiver. But that wide receiver is pretty full, that wide receiver room. And then a guy like Denzel Mims is either cut or reportedly getting cut by the Jets, right?
Yeah. I would like to kick the tires on them. Bruce texted me. Bruce and I texted as soon as the dudes dropped, and he's like, "No, absolutely not. Don't think about it." And his thing is, when have you seen a guy get cut and really go to another team and show that they are the guy that they were drafted to be? Like, how often does it happen?
He said, I would say Wes Welker, but he wasn't drafted to be anything.
Right. and then he mentioned Zay Jones would probably be the best example of it, because now that he's down, and it took him 3 teams.
2
teams from the team he was drafted from. But 3 teams. Right. So it took him 3 teams, and now he's a decent wide receiver. But so when you look at it from that perspective, it's like, yeah. But then I look at it like, look at the quarterback they had, man. Like he wasn't. I don't know. Like I feel like some talent could be unlocked if he played with a pretty good quarterback. So I don't know.
Well, the quarterback is always going to make a guy better. And there's nobody. You don't need to look any further than Aaron Rodgers. The amount of tight ends that Aaron Rodgers made superstars that went to other teams and vanished, let alone wide receivers, Randall Cobb included. I mean, Randall Cobb was never anything after he left Aaron Rodgers, and now obviously he's been reunited. To me, the Denzel Mims cut screams Aaron's got his guys, and Denzel Mims isn't one of them, right? But to your point, what does Denzel Mims look like if he's got a good quarterback? Now, what we're not privy to is how does he study? How does he practice? Does he have a grasp of the offense? Can he work? This might be Aaron Rodgers as well. Can he work in an offense where it's literally dealer's choice? You're out there on the line and you're looking at the defender and you're looking at where the linebackers are playing, and I get to pick my own route. And when I pick my route, I know that Aaron Rodgers is thinking the same thing, and maybe Denzel Mims doesn't have that capacity. So I don't know, but you gotta think that somebody else is going to come up. So getting back to the question that I'm posing to you, are you just giving the number 2 role to Gabe Davis after last year? 52% catch rate, drops in key moments, big catches dropped.
Yeah, I mean, for this season, obviously, if they wanted to match or do what the Titans did for what they got DeAndre Hopkins for, I think the Buffalo Bills could have figured something out if they wanted to. So, the
Buffalo Bills are a Super Bowl champion if they get DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, like I'm already booking hotel, I'm already there because I just know how that's gonna go out or how it's gonna turn out. But the way it is now, it's like they didn't make that move, and it's a contract year for Gabe. This is the year that it decides, okay, are you the Gabe from the playoff game against the the Kansas City Chiefs where you caught and broke or tied the record, or are
It's
you
one game? It's one game.
Well, 2 if you look at the Steelers game, technically. I would include that as like a.
It was 2 passes.
And what again? So I'm saying, you know how my take is on him, but at the same time, I think that he can be. I think that he's going to take a step forward this year. That's what I'm hoping.
We would both sit here and say right now, and viewers, listeners, commenters. So whether you're commenting live right now with us, whether you're listening live right now with us on one of the platforms, you're listening to this in podcast form, people on here would be like, you guys are crazy. There's some people that's like, you're crazy thinking if D-Hop comes to this team, they're Super Bowl champion. But you and I both feel that way. So I'm going to pose it in the opposite direction. Is this a Super Bowl winning team with Gabe Davis as a number 2 wide receiver in your mind? No, that's the answer.
No, you know what? Let me say no, but the unknown is, did the Bills draft? So you know how, and now I'm not putting him on this level yet. Obviously, I'm hoping, but you know how Justin Jefferson came into the league and he was he was that guy. Yeah. Is Dalton Kincaid that good? Is he that good of a receiver? Can he help the offense? If so, yes. If not, no. Based off of what we saw last year and not really changing much on offense, no.
Why? So Matt asked the question, why not? Because your number 2 wide receiver can't drop 48% of his passes on 100 plus targets. And you can't win a Super Bowl that way. You can't.
He said Chiefs did it without Hill, but it's a different scenario.
Without Hill. But the Chiefs didn't have a guy dropping 48% of his passes on 100 plus targets. It just didn't happen. Right. Mm-hmm. I think, when you look at the situation coming in as him, it's funny because I went to the Buffalo Go golf tournament this week and Stevie was there. And I remember like it was yesterday, the Bills drafted Stevie Johnson, 7th round out of Kentucky. And back in those days, I used to watch all the highlight films of all the guys the Bills drafted. And I remember watching the highlight films of Stevie out of Kentucky being like, why did this guy go in the 7th round? Like what? Like this kid is good. And I remember being on the Stevie wagon when he was like his rookie season. And then obviously he got connected Fitz. And then it was like, oh, Stevie Johnson is him. Like everybody was like, this kid can play football. And now Stevie Johnson didn't have the most fulfilling career in the NFL, but he's a legend in Buffalo. First wide receiver in Bills history to go for 1,000 yards 3 seasons in a row. And he's probably the only wide receiver in the NFL ever to make Darrelle Revis look silly every time he played him, right? Stevie was a nightmare, was a headache, was a problem for Darrelle Revis because Stevie was not structured. He didn't play inside the rules of what a receiver is supposed to play inside of. And Darrelle Revis can shut down rule book following wide receivers. I'm just not sure that a guy like Shorter is that guy. I'm not sure that Sherfield is that guy. I'm not sure that Hardy is that guy. So is there a number 2 on this wide receiver to take that spot? I guess are we going to get surprised? If we're going to get surprised, who is it? They're not putting Kincaid out there for 100 targets on the outside.
Mm-hmm. I don't think somebody in the comments said if he doesn't get 80, they'll be upset. I don't think he gets 80 targets. I agree with somebody else who said that McDermott just doesn't use his rookies that way. And that's just how unfortunately, true. I agree with that. I've complained about it last year. Why did we not see Khalil Shakir in more situations? We've seen him in big moments. He made big plays for us. Why did we not trust him more? Why did we keep Isaiah McKenzie? I'm not going to do it today, but why did we keep Isaiah McKenzie in instead of giving Khalil Shakir that opportunity? Or why did we bring Cole Beasley back off the couch?
John Brown. And John Brown.
And John off the couch. I love and obviously I celebrated when we signed Smoke. But let's be real. Like why do we go and bring those guys back off the couch if we had the offense? And we got these rookies that they told us, oh, we drafted this kid in the 5th round, but he was clearly supposed to be drafted like the 3rd or 2nd round. He can, right? Like they always, and I've been going off because it's like, look, stop bargain shopping in the draft. When you're talking about we've missed with high picks. We sent the 2nd round draft pick. Cody Ford is no longer playing for the Buffalo Bills. That same draft, it could have been DK Metcalf. Granted, we might not have had Diggs. Whatever. Right. I'm just throwing it out there, but you get my point. Like, we gotta do better, man. We gotta stop bargain shopping.
John Roberts says that Shakir can play outside. The Bills don't think so.
Can he? I haven't seen it. Not in
Right.
Buffalo.
He can't block. I can tell you that. The dude cannot block. You've watched all of the Bills games from last season multiple times. The dude can't block.
Cash, my man, AK Cash says John Brown can still play. I'm sorry, no one is saying that he can't. That wasn't my point. I love John Brown. Like when we signed John Brown, I celebrated. But at the same time, the season prior, John Brown tried out for a couple teams after he was cut by the Raiders. He wasn't able to stick on any roster. There's a reason why he wasn't in the league. Same thing with Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley tried out last week for a team and he didn't get signed. You know what I mean? So
yet.
Well, we're saying yet, but last season he wasn't signed until the Bills picked him up.
But some of this is, and so now I'm going to play devil's advocate. Some of this is football politics, right? So John Brown can play football better than Khalil Shakir as a rookie. Cole Beasley's going to play the slot better than Khalil Shakir and Isaiah McKenzie, regardless, any day of the week. Khalil's a rookie. I'm not saying Khalil 5 years from now when he's matured and who knows what he's going to become. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't see. He could become the greatest slot receiver ever. I don't know. But as a rookie, Cole's going to play. The Bills sign him. And you and I talked a lot about the fact that what this offense was missing last year was Cole Beasley, or at least the Cole Beasley role. Yeah. The Bills sign him and put him on the bench for 5 games and then activate him in the playoffs and didn't throw him the football.
So again, so my comments then about Cole, my comments then about John. Neither of us are saying anything bad about either. No. We love those guys. The point that I'm making is, why did they have to go and sign those guys week 16, week 15? Why did they have to go and get those guys off the couch? If we went into the season with the offense, we were pretty much rolling back with the same offense.
If those of you, and it's I don't like to sound like a hater, but this is going to make me sound like a hater. And maybe I'm not a denier. I'm not a hater. I'm a doubter. Doubter is probably the best word. There's so many people that have been and still are on the Khalil Shakir bandwagon. Like, he had 10 catches last year, couldn't block to save his life. 10 catches, couldn't block. Well, he didn't get didn't get targeted. Okay, but he had 10 catches and couldn't block to save his life. And the Bills still went and got John Brown and Cole Beasley with him on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
If that's not concerned, that doesn't scream Khalil Shakir can play the outside too. Like, that screams, Houston, we have a problem. We got to go get somebody that can catch the damn football and play in this offense. Now it's another year, so he's matured, right? So he's got a year under his belt. He's coming into a new season, new training camp, and all that good stuff. I just got to wonder, who is the number 2 wide receiver on this football team? Is it Dalton Kincaid from the middle slot, standing up?
I think it's Gabe.
Point.
I think it's Gabe, though.
You think it's Gabe?
I think he's in the contract.
I say number two in volume. Who's the number 2 wide receiver in volume? Is it Kincaid?
Gabe? I think it's Gabe. I think it's a contract year. He's going to have to earn. He's going to earn a contract somewhere. If it's with Buffalo or not, he's going to earn his contract. He's going to play big. You know what? I'm going to go and see what the over under on what the bet is on how much he's going to supposed to get receiving yards. I'm going to bet the over on it. I think he's going to have a career year. I do.
Chris Yankee and a bunch of people are making excuses for Khalil Shakir. There's a lot of 5th round rookies that came in and played pretty well. Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs. Like, those guys that came in out of the 5th round that played pretty well, especially when the amount of Bills fans are on his jock about how great he is and how much they want to see him get thrown the ball so much more and get so much more volume. I mean, the dude is not big. He's a small dude. To expect him to block the way that Gabe blocks. Gabe is a big boy, 6'2", 6'1". He's a big kid. He can block. Khalil Shakir is not. I've stood next to him. Not a big guy. Anyway, go ahead.
How do you feel about this? Buffalo Freddy says he says if Dawson doesn't have a big season, bye.
If Dawson does not have a big season and Dalton Kincaid does, it's not outside the realm of possibility. The question is, how do you feel about it?
I feel like he didn't quite deserve the contract that he got. So, he wouldn't have gotten a second contract. But I don't know how you get rid of him right now with that contract.
I don't know how you get rid of him that contract either. The question is how do I want to pose it? What were the Bills thinking when they gave him that contract and then to turn around and draft Dalton Kincaid a year later?
For all the credit that we give the front office with these contracts and stuff and how they cleaned up our cap situation when they first got here and they fixed it. It's like some of these I look at and it's like, why do we give this to now? Dawson has some big plays in the playoffs and late in the season. Some really nice grabs, but was it enough?
I don't know who it was. Somebody in the comments said that Khalil Shakir, had Eric Moulds helping him with his game. That's like you having LeBron help you with your basketball game. I mean, Eric Moulds was 6'1", 220 pounds. Like, he was a monster. He was really fast. He could block. He could catch one-handed. Like, you put up that highlight reel of Eric Moulds. Khalil Shakir is not Eric Moulds.
It ain't gonna help. Bron can train me and throw me in the NBA, and I promise I still probably won't get 2 points unless I get fouled. If I go to the free throw line, I got you 2 points.
Oh my gosh. It's like Brett Favre teaching or giving Chad Pennington arm strength lessons. You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna make your arm stronger. Just do this. I did that, bro. It didn't happen. All right, we got to get out of here. This has been a fun conversation, and we can go. You and I get into this, and we can go all night. But yeah, super fun conversation. Love the engagement from the commenters, and even if we disagree, we all love each other, and it's exciting that football is just around the corner. Go ahead.
No, we don't have to talk. I was just throwing up comments here at the end. But Beth asked, "What's the word on the free agent running backs? Cook, Elliott, Eckler." Well, Eckler is still with he's still with the Chargers. He's not a free agent, and he's not going to be traded. But as far as Cook and Elliott, I think it's crazy that those guys aren't on teams yet. For Cook, I think it's more of I don't think he wants to be on the team right now. It's like it's camp, probably closer towards the end of camp.
Yep. 100%. And it's a running back position. I mean, we saw guys get signed in the NFL or get traded, Christian McCaffrey, and play the next week, right? Or play that week. So, hey, go through that hole. Go through that gap over there. Like, literally, you call the play, and then the quarterback goes, yeah, it's a draw. You know what I mean? Or you're going through the A gap. Like, there's really not much to it. So, Mr. Go All Night, that's funny. So do you want me to get us out of here? Ladies and gentlemen, you have been tuned into the Hump Day Hotline on the Buffalo Rumblings Vidcast Network. I am your co-host, Joe Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired. Love to interact, love to converse. I will be going to camp this year. Hopefully I'll be getting to go to the Red versus Blue game. I've got tickets. There's a chance I might not get to go. And sitting alongside my partner in crime, as always, Mr. Jay Spence the King. Go ahead, Jay Spence.
Hey, well, y'all know how to do it over here. Find me on Twitter at Jay Spence the King. And hey, it's Buffalo Rumblings. Y'all love each other, take care of each other, and live in peace. And as always, stay positive, test negative. Go Bills.
Go Bills.